Hello, Lee. How are you?
You said I was going to play a tune, and now I'm very nervous.
I'm sorry.
I don't think anybody wants to see or hear that.
No.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes.
I don't know what I was saying, Lee. You know that. Well, you could definitely still play one. Maybe next week. No, I'm sure that you have. Is this maybe a news story or?
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay. I'll let you take it away.
All right, great. Just so you know, I have a new cat that I brought home today a few hours ago, and he just came out from under the bed, and he's attacking my feet. So if my voice fluctuates a lot, it's probably for that reason. So.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Donnie.
You're welcome, Lee. Good to see you.
Thanks. You too. This is called Distraction is the Name of the Game. And there you hear him. Rumble in the Jungle, Immaculate Reception, Miracle on Ice. These words conjure some of the greatest triumphs of the human spirit. But as enduring as these classic sporting events may be, they've got nothing on the grit, determination, and diabolical force of nature that is women's 40 and over tennis. It's a force that has, in surprising ways, prepared me for a time like the one we're living in, which sure is trying men's and women's souls. So, like elite athletes everywhere, I am currently on hiatus, missing the visceral merger of mind, body, and spirit that occurs when we plumb the depths of ourselves by playing sports. But during these last several weeks in isolation, I have come to realize that the same experiences that have helped me forge mental toughness on the court are helping me maintain emotional well-being while being in the throes of a goddamn pandemic. Sports really is a perfect testing ground to see how tough you can be. As a kid, I played soccer and softball, but was always on losing teams, so I never felt any pressure. With tennis, I'm learning a lot about nerves, especially this. When the going gets tough, the tough damn well better dig deep and be clutch and not freak out or choke or lose their shit. I see now that the same applies to a goddamn pandemic. My tennis version of mental fortitude began to take shape a few years ago when my Manhattan team made sectionals. And 3 matches into the 5-match tournament, we still hadn't made it on the board. For match 4, I partnered with my teammate Nancy to take on Long Island. It was a beautiful summer afternoon, and the match, our second of the day, started out fine. We took the court and met our opponents, someone whose name I don't remember, and another I'll never forget. I'll call her Tina. Tina was a New Yorker by way of Georgia, and although she had lived on Long Island for decades, this special brand of Georgia peach maintained a southern accent the likes of which you haven't heard since Blanche Davidrow last graced your TV screen. She had dyed jet black hair and wore thick mascaraed lashes that absorbed the sunlight, dancing off her bejeweled wrists, ears, and throat. She didn't look like much of a player, but in no time, Tina was ordering around what's-her-name, and they were clobbering us and taking the first set. Nancy and I were stunned. We decided to be more aggressive, dug deep, and turn that mess around. It was my turn to serve when Tina, mad that we were mounting a comeback, began making questionable line calls and wandering into the service box where I was serving a what's-her-name. Nancy, a tall woman and tough as nails former volleyball player, wasn't about to take any shit and told Tina that she needed to cut it out. Dripping all the sugar she could possibly muster, Scarlett O'Hara drawled for days, "Whatever could you mean?" "You know what you're doing. Just stop," said Nancy, whom I've never known to suffer a single fool. We won the game in the set, and on the changeover before the tiebreaker that would decide the match, Nancy told Tina she was going to call the ref over if she kept trying to distract us. Tina replied, "Ladies, distraction is the name of the game." "Really? I thought it was skill," I said, and walked back onto the court. By now, all the other matches had ended, so our teammates came to watch as ours crossed the 2-hour mark. Our captain, Karen, pumped her fist at us, and our teammates cheered between points and bit their nails during them. Now, coming back from a set down is an easier play for me than closing out a match. Even today, I like being the underdog with nothing to lose. Winning a tiebreak is tough stuff, especially when you're a new player like I was back then. And that tiebreak was intense. My heart raced and my mouth went dry in nervousness and fear. We kept it pretty close, but then Tina and what's-her-name suddenly had match point, and in one of those horribly regrettable instances where you see where things are going even before they get there, I hit the ball too early and it sailed wide. It was over. I had choked and we had lost. Tina and what's-her-name's team whooped and cheered, and I wanted to crawl onto the court, assume the fetal position, and not face any of my teammates. Instead, Nancy and I shook our opponent's hands, grunted nice match at the gloating Tina and what's-her-name, and walked off the court. Our team clapped for us, and Karen shrugged at me, a very sweet, "What can you do?" And tears floated out of my eyes. Projectile embodiments of the fatigue and frustration I had been feeling the last 2.5 hours. I admit, I have lost many a close match since then, but I am proud to say it's not because I choked. It's because I just missed a shot or my opponent hit a winner, not because I gave into pressure and gave something away. God, I miss tennis. I miss being outdoors. I miss my teammates and my friends. We should be outside, spring days on the courts in Central Park, and summer nights under the lights. I know this respite is temporary, and as the late, great Carrie Fisher once said, nothing's ever really over, just over there. I know all that, and maybe Tina was right. Not in a cheating way, but in a surviving a pandemic sort of way. For those of us not on the front lines or losing loved ones or our jobs, distraction is kind of the name of the game. Now, in this life, this unrecognizable one we're living now, while we're at home with ourselves, reflecting and contemplating, feeling stress but not really pressure, distraction is a pretty good means to help get us through. I'm grateful to tennis for many things, but mainly for giving me a toughness I don't know that I'd have otherwise. And I can't wait to dig deep some more when I head back to just over there, onto the courts where we'll play once again, into the lives we'll live once again. And if I'm lucky and stay strong out there, on another day soon I'll get a rematch and my revenge on what's-her-name and you-know-who. That's it.